Spain.
Yeah, but these two trainers are having interesting teams. We have Alfonso CP also correcting against the Tinkerton and not having a Tinkerton in his side. We have Azumarill, Drapion, Golisopod, Credilli, Claydol, and Corviknight. Corviknight, again, great Pokemon, great attacks, great bulk to it. On the other side, we see Borja. He is rocking that Malamar. Malamar has been completely pushed out of the meta, but now we see it coming here. What he's done so far is build a Pokemon, build a team that's super strong against Tinkerton, so you have to think twice for bringing a Tinkerton against his team.
Think twice. Ha 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 ha. Another one thing I'd like to point out about Borja's team is his Lapras running Skull Bash. A lot of the Laprases, like we just saw last game, are opting to run Ice Beam to have a little bit more coverage against like a grass type Jump being able to knock it down. Skull Bash boosts the defense of the Lapras, but it also does really good in the mirror against opposing Laprases, especially if the other one is running Ice Beam.
Yeah, in day one, Borja relied on the Lapras save swap quite a bit because there was no special grass type attacks against his opponents. But today we see Alfonso CP having that Credilli that can do Rock Tomb and then debuff the Lapras, but also go for really hard hitting grass knots to take the Lapras to the red.
So if you're looking at these teams of 6, are there any Pokemon that's really like speaking to you? I know that you were really into the Golisopod before. We have once again a Golisopod versus a Feraligatr matchup, but this time the Feraligatr is not Shadow, so it doesn't take that 20% more damage. It has a little bit more bulk and can take the charge attacks a little bit more comfortably.
The Pokemon that really stands out for me on the side of Alfonso CP is Corviknight. Great neutral matchups against whole team and potentially can be a setup Pokemon for him against Borja, but these two trainers have locked in the Pokemon already. We see a Lapras into an Azumarill lead. Normally this would have been a neutral lead, but this Lapras is running that Skull Bash, so immediately Alfonso CP going into the Drapion.
Doing Drapion. Drapion's one of the best safe swaps in the game, and you see a lot of trainers being able to do that because they know that Drapion can farm up energy quite quickly. It can throw these crunches, and crunches have potential for a defense drop, which it just got here. Going ahead and just charging up a lot of extra energy before throwing the Sparkling Aria. This could potentially pull a shield from Alfonso's side because if it was a Skull Bash, it would do quite a bit. It does get that shield. I wonder if we will see a swap or if this Drapion just has too much energy to go through.
Yep, he gets a shield indeed, but now we see Borja's backline as well. It has a pretty good time against the Azumarill, so he is not swapping out of this matchup, staying in here because the next Sparkling Aria will be enough to knock out the Drapion or almost put it in a red. Let's see the Aqua Tail bait coming in. Does he know? Does he know?
Aqua Tail goes through. He doesn't know a last second shield. You can see him not so happy about this, but it was charge attack priority. He knew that if it was a crunch that would knock out and he wanted to get some energy off. Alfonso going ahead and using his shield as well here. That Drapion really wants to just start farming away, but at this point the Sparkling Aria already ready.
Sparkling Aria ready, and this will be enough to knock out the Drapion and secure the mid-game matchup for Borja. Let's see what develops towards the end game. Let's see which Pokemon Alfonso CP brings in. I think it's going to be... Oh, it's going for a hard Corviknight farm down, but bringing in the Feraligatr to counter the Corviknight. Will he throw the Sky Attack? No! Tries to catch the Hydro Cannon onto the Azumarill.
This is a dangerous position. I know we talk about it time and time again, but for Alligator, even though this doesn't look like it's a very strong matchup for it because these Hydro Cannons are basically resist on the Azumarill, the Shadow Claws just being able to start clawing away and the potential of just being able to spam out these attacks actually makes it a bit more favorable for the Feraligatr. Plus the Play Rough on a non-Shadow Feraligatr is not going to be doing as much damage.
Yeah, absolutely, but the Shadow Claws unfortunately are not doing a lot of damage because this is not a Shadow Feraligatr, but that also means this Play Rough is not going to do a lot of damage. Play Rough coming in puts the Feraligatr into the red, but these bubbles I don't think are enough to knock the Feraligatr out before it gets to 2 Hydro Cannons. Hydro Cannon number 1 coming in. He has the back-to-back Hydro Cannon. Will Alfonso CP attempt to make a catch here?
At this point, you have to remember that the Feraligatr would win charge attack priority. He does try to make a catch coming into the Clodsire. Clodsire does not want to take this Ice Beam, but I think he's hoping for an aggressive farm down on this Azumarill.
Yeah, I think it will be an aggressive farm down, but no, Alfonso CP says, no, you're not going to get it. I'm going to bring in my Corviknight. Super effective sand attacks here, one after another. Going for this first Iron Head. Iron Head will do, let's say, a reasonable chunk of damage onto the Clodsire.
Clodsire being able to tank it quite easily, though, because it is one of the bulkier Pokemon already at a Stone Edge. This is not enough to knock out the Corviknight, but it's putting in some hefty damage. Keep in mind that Feraligatr still has a Hydro Cannon stored in the back, and Alfonso knows this as well.
Yeah, Hydro Cannon is stored, but also we know that the Azumarill's energy is almost done here. In comes this second Iron Head. Iron Head will be enough to knock out the Clodsire. Does the Corviknight has enough in its tank to knock out this Feraligatr and the Lapras?
I mean, great timing by Alfonso there, throwing the Iron Head at charge attack priority so the Clodsire not able to get off another attack, but a Hydro Cannon does come through. Not quite enough to knock it out. A quick pivot into the Lapras, but Lapras doesn't have the side waves doing enough damage, and another Iron Head already ready.
The Corviknight show. Iron Head comes in and knocking the Lapras back, and one more sand attack will be enough to send this Feraligatr packing 1-0 Alfonso CP. What a Corviknight show.
It's so dangerous. Alfonso did something that I find very interesting that you see a lot of trainers do in this meta, and that is moving in Drapion almost immediately because nothing really wants to take the charge attack from the Drapion. I think it was a little bit worse for the Wear for Borja too because it immediately gave off a crunch debuff on that Lapras, so that means that the bulk of the Lapras was taking a little bit more from all of the damage going through, and he ended up having to be forced to shield an Aqua Tail.
In this game, what potentially I would have liked to see from Borea was the moment he got that shield from the Drapion, immediately switching into the Clodsire and tried to secure that matchup. You really did not need switch because you did have Feraligatr towards the end game, which would have done a ton of work against Alfonso CP, especially if after Alfonso CP would have had to go shields down to ensure the Drapion beats the Clodsire. So that could have been something that he could correct. Let's see if he does it in game number 2. Both of these trainers had brilliant game plans, but unfortunately, Alfonso CP's Corviknight just did too much in the game.
Not only that, Alfonso really had fantastic counting. If you were watching how much that energy that Clodsire was being able to build up, it's really not doing that much damage to the Corviknight. But however, the Corviknight was just waiting until the Stone Edge was available. He knew that he would be able to throw his attack first and was able to take out the Clodsire. If he threw immediately when his Iron Head was available, it could have turned out to be a completely different gameplay because he wouldn't have had the energy to throw at the later Pokemon.
Yeah, very good heads-up play. I think I've been talking about Alfonso CP as well. He's impressed me throughout the tournament so far. Great energy management. He counts so well, and he also shields and predicts the bait so well as well. Let's see.
Predict it for game number 3 here. We got the Azumarill coming in up against Lapras. Like you talked about before, this one is more favorable for the Lapras. We'll see if Alfonso once again immediately swaps out. Looks like he's going straight for that Credilli.
No, going for the Credilli indeed. Let's see what happens. He immediately met with the Clodsire. Clodsire is going to take quite a bit of damage from these Grass Knots, and also we see it does not have the Sludge Bomb.
Going for this Grass Knot here, it's going to be able to, like you said, do a nice little chunk to the Clodsire, but Clodsire also is able to hit back, and I think at this point, you're at least not going to throw the Rock Tomb if you're Alfonso, because Clodsire resists that. He's going to be able to throw this heavier hitting Earthquake, no shield from Alfonso's side.
No shield from Alfonso's side, but it only needs one more Earthquake to knock the Credilli out of the pitch here, but Credilli, not before Credilli gets to another Grass Knot. Grass Knot number 2 coming in. This will put the Clodsire into the yellow, but then again, not enough, just barely not enough.
Being able to hit the Earthquake right now and going for the Stone Edge instead, I really like this play because at this low health, the Stone Edge would still be enough, no Protect Shield, and at this point too, there's just a little bit of energy for the Clodsire for whatever comes in. Borja doesn't even want it right now. You see him immediately clicking on that Lapras, coming back in to be met with the Golisopod, but guess what? This one's already at the Skull Bash.
Yep. Getting to the Skull Bash at Charge Attack tie. Unfortunately for the Lapras, Charge Attack tie will almost always be won, and actually always be won by the Golisopod.
Going ahead, using that first Protect Shield because he knows that after this Skull Bash goes off, the defenses will be a little bit bigger. Is he going to shield? Does he know? Does he think it's a bait? Last second shield by Alfonso. Great call for him because that would have done a ton of damage to the Golisopod.
Last second shield saves that Golisopod from a whole world of hurt here. But going for another Exeter, this is into a defense boosted Lapras. It's not going to do significant damage, but then again, it's all about chipping this Lapras down to a manageable level.
I'm interested to see. He knows he will be able to outpace at this point too. Going for the Sparkling Aria, which again, Golisopod is a water type. It's not going to be doing that much damage, but it doesn't have so much bulk in the Great League, forcing Alfonso to use a shield here because he's got a ton of energy, wants to make sure he gets off an X-Scissor, at least a parting gift, or get another shield. And Borja chooses to let the Lapras not let it go.
Yeah, Lapras still survives with 1 HP here. In comes the Azumarill, only to be met with a hard answer, a soft answer for the jump love. But in this scenario, with a shield advantage, this jump love is going to be a hard answer to this Azumarill.
Well, this is the thing. This jump love, like most jump loves that people have been using nowadays, are running 2 flying attacks, acrobatics and aerial ace. A grass knot would be doing more damage here, but this is Shadow. This is a heavy hitting attack from a jump love, and we're about to see how much it does to Azumarill. It puts it down into the yellow, so they're absolutely right. No protect shields remaining. It's a race.
Oh, the aerial ace comes in here. This aerial ace will not be enough to knock out the Azumarill, but might put it in a range where the Clodsire can poison sting it down. Aerial ace comes in, charge attack tie with the Ice Beam. Is the Ice Beam enough to knock out a Jumpluff at this range?
I think that it's pretty darn close at this point, and see that it's not going to be able to knock it out, but I mean, now the Glycopod coming back in, aerial ace coming through here. No protect shields remaining. Really great wherewithal by Borja here. He knows this aerial ace will be able to knock out. There's still some health left on that Lapras, and there's still a tiny bit of health on the Clodsire. An immediate swap.
Immediate swap into the Clodsire. These poison stings are adding up, but will the Clodsire get to the move? Yes, it does. Gets to the Stone Edge before the Azumarill gets to the Ice Beam for the knockout. Clodsire Stone Edging the Ice Beam. I think this game is Borea.
You know, we call what this is a 3-ball flex. Borja having all Pokemon left at the end of this, even though they were quite low health. Really, really great timings around everything, kind of dancing around the switch clock, recognizing where the opponent was at with energy.
Man, the Gligar plushie is just so good. It's just so cute on the Borea side. I'm sorry, I should not have deleted it, but it is just cute. So he made a huge correction here. He went with the strategy that he thought was going to work.
You wanted it, you got more of it.
Look at it, it's so goofy. It's so cute. I mean, it just completely took my attention away from the game. It's such a cute plushie. I'm gonna get that. So the advantage of running the Skull Bash Lapras in this meta is mostly the Azumarill matchup, and also the lot of we saw Lapras is one of the top used Pokemon as well.
That's right.
So having the Skull Bash ensures that you win this Lapras mirror, and that goes a long way into defining how you want to play out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And knowing also that the Lapras is running Skull Bash makes things a little bit more difficult for Alfonso. He really correctly shielded up that Glycopod mid-game there, which was something for him. Because otherwise that Skull Bash would have just done a hefty amount of damage. And even with the Azumarill, it's not as comfortable as it would be, obviously, if it was running Ice Beam.
Yeah. I think energy management-wise, Borea did a great job by going for the aerial ace, making sure that he will still have enough HP to get to another move on the Glycopod to knock it out. One of the things that we noticed as well is Glycopod did a lot of heavy lifting, yes? Yeah. But it's also a very frail Pokemon. So an aerial ace from a Jumpluff is enough to knock it out at that range. So, you know, it's like, all right, do I go for the acrobatics and risk it all and potentially get caught on? Or I'm just going to chip this Azumarill in a range which is manageable for my Pokemon in the backline. Very good call by Borea.
Yeah, I think it's such a risk. We saw yesterday a lot of times too, like someone having enough energy for an acrobatics, but obviously if you're this caliber of a player, you recognize, you know, where your opponent is at with energy, potentially having a catch. I mean, that would be something that would be very difficult to come back from at that stage. I like Azumarill. I mean, I know it's one of our co-caster Leo's favorite Pokemon. It's been around from the start for us for PvP, but what I do say, it does lack kind of like the oomph, the power behind it. It paces so slowly with those bubbles to be able to get to the attack, and it makes it a little bit more predictable in that way as well.
It's like I always say, right? Azumarill is not there to win your games.
He's always saying that. I'm almost like, Abby, you've said that like 4 times.
I'm sorry, Chad.
No, I agree with you. It's used as a really good supporting role, or
exactly.
a co-caster.
It's a co-caster, absolutely. I think it's a Pokemon that's there to sponge energy. It's a Pokemon to potentially set up your, let's say, you know, you can build your team like you have your tank, and then you have Pokemon that have versatile gameplay, and then you also have heavy hitting Pokemon. These are Pokemon like your Feraligators, like your Glycopods, like your Drapion that do a ton of damage if given a little bit of energy advantage. So Azumarill is such a good setup Pokemon in most of the metas, and that's why we almost always see an Azumarill take the podium. Marcus, please take notes.
Take some notes. It's at least in the top 12 here for the day 2 of the Sevilla Special Championships. Just for everyone wondering at home, the match is under review for the last matchup, so we're just having a quick look with the judges to see if the score will remain for Borja or if it will be knocked down, and we'll continue on with the fresh game number 2. So we'll keep you updated as we know, but let's kind of think about this, because obviously this is very high stakes at this point. Even though they're on the winner's side of the bracket, meaning that they didn't lose any games yesterday, everyone is coming to play to compete, and they want to make sure that they're getting their fair shake.
Yeah, I completely understand. So it's on the judges' side, right? So it's always, we have a great team of judges for a reason, just so that if players feel hard done by certain things that happen in the game, you just ask for a review. There is no, it's not a bad thing to ask for a review. You can ask for a review once, you can then ask for a head judge review as well. So these systems are in place. 5 turns. I think for now, so try to
I think that
comes in at this point. I think Alfonso CP will want to fight for switch here, but he says no, I'm going to try to win this game with energy. Potentially will have to come in with the Galisapod and completely farm down this Feraligatr.
throw that Hydro Cannon. It's very interesting. He did throw it a
Galisapod. I think Alfonso CP 2 X's are coming in here.
going straight for it. This is going to be able to do well, and I think that's why you were seeing Borja keep his
Reaches the sparkling area. He does something.
Has a lot of energy. We saw how much one acrobat ice beam. Borja taking no chance.
Would have been in a position where I think is too much for the.
I think Alfonso is kind of giving him a grin. Continuing on in the winner's side of the bracket.
Jump love there. Happy Pokemon. It's such a happy Pokemon to see. It always is with a smile as well in the animation. So it was a reverse sweep by Borja. He understood the mistakes he made game number 1 and completely came back to deter Alfonso from going further in the tournament. Actually, we will still get to see the Malamar maybe towards the end game as well.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I was really liking about Borja too is, like, you saw him near the beginning with his eyes closed. He was really reaching a zen moment, and I think it's really interesting to see how different trainers prepare for their matchups. You could tell that he was really taking a deep breath. He was taking a consideration of what was going on, and now he can sit back and relax. Maybe don't